Are you thinking about buying or selling a home in September of 2024? Maybe you're just trying to do some planning of your asset portfolio, or maybe you want to get ahead of the election season to be able to make a move. My name is Spencer Sue, and in the last 5 years, I've helped over 250 people just like you guys successfully with their moves to buy and sell. We're going to be going over the market today, and every month, in the beginning of the month, we go over what our home's going for, how is the level of activity going, what are our general mortgage rates at. So we're going to be going over everything to help you be prepared as much as possible. But if you want to go over a game plan, call or text us at 408-547-4590. Let's go over the data together. So here is the general macro for Alameda County, San Francisco, San Mateo County, and Santa Clara County as a median for all those four counties together. You can see as we ended in August, August is a lower time than what we have saw in July. Keep in mind, the closings in August are basically July pending transactions. So it's been a pretty big decline since the very, very busy spring that we had, right? So it went from the highs of June 2024 at 1.5. Last month is at 1.4. And then now this month is at 1.35. So the question is, will this likely keep declining? Will things have a rebound? Let's take a look at a little bit about history so you can see like what typically happens in the fall time and how will that impact your decision as a buyer or seller to make a move. So if you look at the stats here, right, August is over. Let's take a look at 2022. 2022, if you remember, generally in the it had a really big decline of prices because of higher rates, right? Higher rates was being increased really quickly. But you can see that the numbers that in August it was kind of a low point, but September, October was a little bit higher than that, and then goes back down during the winter time. Now let's take a look at this. You look at last year, right? It declined also to July, August. Right, August was the lowest point, and then it kind of rebounded for a little bit, but slightly, not drastically. But it did increase to September, October, and then it declined again. If you look at 2021, August, September. September was actually the lowest, and then it kind of rebounded a little bit for October, November. Remember, the ones that are pending are usually a month in advance. So it gives you a little bit of an idea. We do go through seasonality. Now, how much more or less will this season have versus others, especially with election time? We will see. Now, the other thing to be mindful is the number of sales of each of these particular months. So you can see the number of sales this August. This August had a very similar number to what we had last August. However, this last July was a much higher number. June was a similar number, but the months prior were a little bit higher. So there is more sales happening. These are the ones that have already closed. Now, how you compare that to the previous years, right? I mean, it's significantly far off than like 2021 numbers, which was really, really busy. To be fair, we're probably not going to hit any of these numbers unless rates can somehow go in the sub 4 or something. But that's not likely to occur. Right now, we're going to be very fortunate to be in the sub 6s, which we are already seeing for a lot of clients that are in the jumbo price range. They are already suitable for this. So this gives you an idea of the overall volume and how things have changed. You can see that the September, October number, they've historically been somewhat similar to August, and then things will start declining in November, December, right? And January is still declined. So it gives you a little bit of the idea of like how things have typically progressed. We're probably going to see a little bit of a bounce up. I would say September. A lot of people are getting back into back from traveling. People are back from school. Kids are back from the vacation break from school. And fortunately, to take a look at this, mortgage rates have done really, really well. So mortgage rates right now on average is about 6.3%. Now, this is for the average across the entire country. Some may be a little bit less than this. But you can see, even compared to, even if you compare to January, right? Some of the numbers are even lower than January 2024. They're about they're kind of the lowest it has been in the last, at least the very least, a year. You can see, but even more the last 18 months. So we should see more people get back into the market, but you may also then see more sellers willing to sell and leave their properties because they've waited long enough and they still have some equity in place to be able to accomplish that move. Now let's break this down though by individual counties to see if all counties are experiencing this same trajectory or if it's only specific ones. Let's go with first Santa Clara County. Santa Clara County for single family condos and townhomes, you can see different story, right? The home prices for July and August have been relatively flat. It wasn't the same kind of decline that you saw versus those other counties. Now let's take a look at San Mateo County. San Mateo County, you can see, has had a little bit of a decline. May was the highest point for that county. Right, let's take a look at San Francisco. San Francisco has had a pretty big decline for August. So that only leads us back to two more. Let's look at Alameda. So you can see for yourself, like, how are things trending. Alameda County also has had a decline. And then last but not least, we'll look at Contra Costa County. Actually, we'll look at one more. We'll look at Marin County too. Contra Costa County has done relatively fine, has a slight decline too. And then we'll look at Marin County. Because some people have asked about that. Now, Marin County, as you can see, has been relatively flat on the very top of the May timeframe. It actually didn't increase significantly much more than others, but you can see also has declined. So across the board, we've had declines. Now, keep this in mind, though. These are numbers from July. So what will be most interesting is seeing the numbers of how things unfold over the next couple of weeks, because those are August numbers. But really, people are getting back usually after the Labor Day weekend. So don't be surprised that you're going to see a little bit of an increase in terms of prices and in terms of activity. But I'd be shocked if there was anything drastic. So don't feel too concerned. The good news is that generally right now, if you're making competitive bids and it's within what homes are worth, you're probably going to be fine on the appraisal side, and it's going to be fairly easy to know like what your budget will be able to help afford for you just by looking at what has sold. So that's the latest activity. Now let's go over some of these numbers, because this is really important. It's the number of new listings, right? So if you look at the number of new listings, and let's look at the data here. In Marin County, there's 237, and this is a really helpful thing to compare with previous months or the previous year. So you can look at a place like Marin County in the time of August. There's 237. This was actually even less. This was only a little bit higher than 2023, but certainly less than before. But it is a little bit better than what we saw last year. But it isn't much better, which is it is concerning, especially with the volume that we have had. Now let's look at Santa Clara County, number of new listings. So people that are willing to sell. You can see 1485, there's a good amount of activity, better than 2022, better than 2023, right? So some trends, a little bit off of 2021, but 2021 was a really, really busy time. So there's been good amount of choices for those in Santa Clara County. Partially of that is because the home prices have done really well, so that sellers are willing to sell. If you look at San Mateo County, right? San Mateo County, same story, right? 2024, 618, much more than last 2 years. This is about 10% more. So 10% more than the previous years. If you look at Alameda County, you can see 1422. So everything is good because it's trending the right direction, more than last year, which is some of the lowest it has been. But still, in this case, barely at 2022 numbers. So depending on where you're actually focusing on your search, you're going to have a little bit of a different perception in terms of your thoughts of inventory, right? Is inventory good, bad, or equal? Because you can see some counties are having more to sell than the 2022 numbers. But like in this case, Contra Costa County actually has less than 2022 numbers. So it's a little bit confusing, right? But then again, you can kind of make some sense of it. Like the more desirable homes have been places close by to Santa Clara County, because a lot of those jobs are still bringing people in. The stocks have still done well. The commute is a factor again. So that's why you see these kind of activities. But in general, home prices have dropped. Now, will it drop further? I mean, I think it'll probably be relatively flat, if not a small increase. But who knows, right? At the time will tell. It's going to be really, really, really fascinating to see how many people come back into the market the first kind of 2 weeks of September. I think that's going to be a really big tell as to whether this year would already kind of be concluding pretty quickly, or we're going to have a little bit of a bump up. But I wouldn't be too worried if you're a buyer or seller. You're probably not going to see things too drastically. There's still plenty of people very active looking at homes. So we just had a home on the market this weekend that is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo in Newark, and we still had 20 plus groups show up, right? So, and this was a long weekend, and a lot of people are gone. So that's pretty good news that there's still plenty of buyers out there, and especially if the buyers knew about this, right? That the rates have been dropping already, and that you can get some pretty good rates. Like right now for many banks, maybe in the low sixes. That has helped a lot of people psychologically be like, look, I want to get ahead of it. Let's buy now, and then we can deal with refinancing later. So I hope this was helpful. If you want to go over a game plan, My contact details are below. I help clients all throughout the Bay Area. So wherever you may be looking at or thinking about making a move, we can go over your best options today, and then you can decide what will work for you. See you next time. Bye now.